Well, welcome everyone. My name is Kristen Wister from the Landenberg Loft, a place of spiritual nourishment, educational empowerment, and community. And I am here today with a beautiful Alexis Brown, transformational teacher and coach and new friend to me, but I feel like I've known you for quite some time.
hmm
And
hmm
I'm spotlighting you today as the Landenberg Loft Loves Spotlight. And we're just going to learn more about you. So it's just a way for me to um, promote people in the community of the Landenberg Loft and get to know people and learn about the work that you do. It's very interesting. I can't wait to hear more. And also, you're going to be leading a retreat at the Landenberg Loft coming up in April. And so we're going to talk
Yes.
a little bit about that. And I'm just excited. And plus, it's the spring equinox today. So very, very perfect
Oh,
time, right? This
forgot
is,
all about that.
I know. It's a really powerful day today and for a very powerful woman and conversation. And I feel honored to be here with you. So
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here also.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to spending time with you today. I'm looking forward to our workshop. I just moved back up into Pennsylvania, and so I'm really looking forward to meeting other powerful women.
Yes, I think we've been Facebook friends for, I don't know how long, but we had a lot of friends in common.
Right.
And when you came to one of my Mindful Mondays, it just felt so synchronistic and just so in tune when I met you.
Yes.
It's just like, oh,
Yes.
she's a soul sister. She's the real deal.
Yep. I felt right at home.
Yep, yep, yep. Yeah. So I'm just going to start with asking you a fun little questions that I ask my spotlights. And the first one is, what's a fun, surprising fact about you?
Um, well, yeah. I'm in my next life, I want to be a storm chaser. I love weather. I've always loved weather, especially like hurricanes and tornadoes and thunderstorms and snowstorms. And um, I didn't realize how much I loved it until I lived in New Mexico for 10 years, where you would go for months, 5 months, 6 months without a drop of precipitation.
Mm.
And I can remember calling my sister one time and saying, she was back here. I was in New Mexico. And I said, how's it going out there? She goes, oh, we're getting a late winter storm. You know how that goes. It was March. I said, yeah, I do. And she said, how's it going out there? I said, it's another friggin' sunny day out here. We hadn't had precipitation since October.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And it gets boring. It gets
Yeah.
boring. I really missed weather. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I'd like to be a storm chaser.
I love that. I love that. I get very excited when there's just, especially when I'm down at the beach and the storm's
hmm
coming in and you can see it. I just recently was caught in like 70 miles an hour wind on the beach and it was wild. It was just,
Yep.
and I felt so alive. I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
alive and
You
I'm
can feel it.
scared to death, you know, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, you can actually feel it. I mean, I can feel
Yeah.
jazz. I can, my skin feels different. My body
Yeah.
feels different. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Um, and why don't we just go into, just we're going to go right into it, the work that you do and why. I don't know if you want to start with why or how you got started. It's probably an interesting story.
Well, so I was an unhappy child. I was an angry teenager. By the time I hit my 20s, I was confused and at war with the world, inwardly, not outwardly. Everybody thought I was sweet and nice and whatever. And I was working in the hospital, but every Sunday I was going to a different church. I was trying to find a place to land. All I wanted was some peace. And so, but I was also modeling.
Mm,
And even though I was a little past that age at 23, believe it or not, that's kind of old
wow.
in modeling. I was doing some modeling, but I still had these visions of being on the front cover of Cosmopolitan or Sports Illustrated. But I was mostly looking for peace. And so back then, They didn't have the internet. You either went to a bookstore, or you went to the library if you wanted to find anything out. And so I saw this little thing about someone coming in to teach modeling or to teach meditation at the library. And I'd read books on it, and I'd come to the conclusion there were those of us that were born to meditate and those that weren't. And I was probably the latter because I was never successful at it. So I go into this meditation, and there's this woman sitting up front, and she's beautiful. I mean, she's just naturally beautiful. She just emanated. She had this energy about her. I didn't know that term at the time, but that's what it was. There was just something about her. And so after the meditation, they're asking questions, and I couldn't quite hear the question. And I'm thinking this woman's a little bit older than me. You know, she's about 30. And she said, well, when my son turned 20, my hand up, and I said, how old are you? He said, I'm 42. Now, remember, I'm still trying to make it in modeling, and I'm thinking, if that's what meditation does, I'm in.
I mean,
So it wasn't some great spiritual thing. It was pure vanity that
right.
started me on my meditation. And
Love
I like to tell that story because we
that.
think we know why we're doing something or why we're there. Probably God, creator, the universe, whatever, said, look, this person wants peace. We need to get her attention. She's got an ego. She's a little vain. So we're going to put her in front of this person right here.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
She
that's how I
resonated
got my
with you.
start.
Yeah, yeah. It was you resonated with her, which was beautiful. Because
Mhm.
sometimes I think when I first started too, I was thinking that if I became spiritual, I'd be a tree hugger and I would just let go of, I would just look different, you know, I just would be like a 70s, I don't know, or whatever, wearing Birkenstocks. And although Birkenstocks are in now, but at the time they were, you know, they weren't my look and they still aren't, but
Yeah, they're still not mine either, but that's
no,
okay.
right. Yeah. I love that. So that got you started.
Yes, it did. And what was interesting, but I also had one other because I was looking for material, you know, to read and understand more. And then I saw on Phil Donahue. Now I'm really dating myself, but Louise Hay and Bernie Siegel, and they were talking about. I had had surgery, and so I was home um, for a couple weeks, couldn't go back to work. And so the only thing back then is you watch TV, you listen to the radio, you read, or you slept.
Hmm.
And they were talking about this law of attraction thing. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening and I'm listening and I'm thinking, I don't have any clue what these people are talking about. But something inside knew it to be true.
Mm.
Called the bookstore, had them hold both of their books, and then had my husband pick up the books. I read the books, you know, and when we read a book, it always refers to other books, other authors, other masters, whatever. And so I just started inhaling books and just kept on going from there.
Mm.
So
Amazing. Amazing. And what were you doing at the time work-wise? Were you in a spiritual type of work or were you doing coaching at that point or doing
no, I
something?
was working in the hospital.
Oh, working in the hospital. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was still working back in the labs. I was a
Okay.
histologist,
Okay.
which means anything that was taken out of the body in the OR, the more it came down to my lab to be analyzed. I used to assist in autopsies.
Oh, interesting. Wow. I
I
love
found the
hearing.
human body fascinating.
I bet. Oh my gosh. And that's probably why you're so interested or why you bring in more of the epigenetics and the physiology and all that with the work that you do now, which I think is
Mhm,
really, really fascinating.
mhm,
So
Absolutely.
do you want to like segue into, you know, how you got into the next stage and with all of this knowledge that you have from your background?
Well, I just kept reading, I kept learning. I was the type, because of being in medical science, my left brain, I was the type that I have to see it to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear unless you can prove it. I'm just not going there.
Yeah.
I've learned enough, experienced enough, and seen enough that I don't have to see it anymore. But my left brain still likes to be satisfied. So I
Mhm.
would always do the research behind everything. Um, if they said, well, meditation does this, this, and this, I'm researching to see what the studies are
Mm,
behind.
love that.
I actually was a student of the Course in Miracles. I've read the Course in Miracles book, did the workbook, and the teacher's manual probably 3 times.
Mhm.
Yeah, to have an understanding. And then I started where I went to Kochu University to become a life coach. And then that just led me to theta healing, EFT, inner child work, holistic kinesiology, and just sort of where I am now is a culmination of
Mm,
all of those things. I just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. I struggled for a long time between anxiety, and I never was really depressed. I've had a couple bouts of depression. One of them was after my husband died, but I would have anxiety to where I would wake up in the middle of the night, and before I could even get a thought in, it was so heavy. It was like there was somebody just sitting on my chest, and I would have to get out of bed and walk it off.
ugh.
And I remember one morning sitting on the bathroom floor and thinking, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And so I just started digging deeper. That's what actually led me to Joe Dispenza, his work.
Mm,
And
okay.
so I've pretty much done all of his workshops,
Wow.
including his advanced workshops. And then I guess it was about 6 years ago, I went through the dark night of the soul. And some people say, oh, yeah, I went through the dark night of the soul last night. It's like, I'm sorry, but the dark night of the soul does not last for a night.
It doesn't like no.
You had a bad night, I'll agree. And I have compassion for that.
Yeah.
And it was really, really interesting because I remembered, her,
Mm-hmm.
Patty Scallon.
Hmm.
I'm talking to Patty on the phone, and I'm like, Patty, I don't know whether to sit, stand, run, cry, scream, go backwards, forwards, left, right. I said, I don't know what to do at this point.
Yeah.
So when I shut down so I guess it was about 5 years ago, I shut down, I wasn't even sure I wanted to coach anymore. And so I get off the phone after we talked, and it was about 2 or 3 hours later, she sends me an email, which the email I can see originally went to her. And she said, I think this is for you. So I get on, and it's an interview that Carolyn Miss is doing, John, and I can't right now think of his name. And he's talking, and he said, if you ever, I swear, he's sitting there and he said, so if you're ever at this place, this is about 10 minutes into his talk, where you don't know whether to go forwards, backwards, right, left. I mean, it's like, is there a microphone or a video camera in here? And he was talking about the dark night of the soul. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized that's what I'd been going through for quite some time.
Mm,
And so there is a, there's two types of depression. There is a biochemical depression, and there's a spiritual depression. And
mm,
if you are in a spiritual depression, medication is not going to do you any good. It's
mm-hmm.
just going to help you. It's a matter of getting through it, riding through it. And I did, and it probably took me another year. And then I decided, okay, I am gonna continue with my coaching because I can't not coach. I'll probably be on my deathbed and saying, look, here, this is what you need to do. This is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I can so relate. Did you take time off from your coaching during that really dark time?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
I get it. I too experienced, really long periods. I had a lot of issues with sleeping, anxiety, depression. It was it was a biochemical combination from hormonal postpartum depression triggered it, and then just went on and off for years. But it really, it brought me down to my knees so many times where I was
Mhm.
just completely isolated and felt like, what's the point? What is the point?
Right.
And yeah, it's amazing how our bodies and can come back, and our souls, the more we work on ourselves. And I feel like our guides and angels are always like, come on, we've got you. And you just feel so alone when you're in that
Yes, you do.
time, you just feel like there's no answer. And I love the fact that we're both sharing this, because if anyone else is out there right now feeling this way, just know that you too can move through this. And
Absolutely.
there's so much help and so much love from the other side as well. Absolutely. And people around us. So I know that that's probably a lot of work that you do in really helping people transform out of dark periods.
Well, I work with the frequencies and with the subconscious, which is also energy. So this is a carefully designed universe. We are carefully designed beings. And so I tell people all the time, I don't care what it is that you're dealing with, it can be resolved.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're energy. Everything is energy. Everything has a frequency. And so I teach people how to raise their vibrational frequency. First, you have to learn how to tap into your body. And so from the time we are conceived to present day, our subconscious is recording everything, everything. It's all in there. It's
Mm-hmm.
all in the limbic system, in the hippocampus. It is filed, everything. And so, and this is Joe Dispenza. You know, we have a neurological network in our brain that is associated to every person, place, thing, circumstance, event. And we have an emotion that is also associated with all of those. So my work is the subconscious emotions and the frequencies. I kind of talk, I mean, my work is whether you are having you feel helpless in a situation in your life or with your health. Now I lead in a little bit more with health because if you can create vitality and health from a situation, you can create anything. And
Mm.
everything else is going to, it's all interconnected, which is why my work is the body, mind, life connection. And so even though I started out in medical science, once I found the mind and the conscious and the subconscious, it just opened up a whole other world for me. And that's where, and this was probably 10, 15 years ago, it's all the body, mind, life connection. It's all interconnected. We're not separate from anything. And in the course that I'm going to be giving April 12th, is I bring in these two studies, these research studies that just completely change the way that we think about the world. That's my left brain saying, you know, gets excited because now I'm not there. Let me step back a bit. Science is not discovering anything.
Mm-hmm.
All science is doing is proving what the ancient masters have been saying for eons.
So true.
Yeah, yeah. And so, but there's some really cool studies out there that are just showing us that, you know, we truly have the power to create change in our lives and to create change in our body. We are not just passing through this world, we are creating it as we go along. And when you really get that, and the cool thing is when I work with people and they get back, we get the next session and they get on and they'll say, "You're not going to believe what just happened." Yeah,
Mm.
well, yeah, well, because here's the thing. We call them miracles, but we call them miracles because we've been going through this world in these programs separately and collectively. And so we think these are the laws and these are the laws and these are the rules or whatever. Can you hear that motorcycle? I apologize if you can,
No, no,
but
can't hear,
my 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 brother's getting ready to leave. I mean, I can hear it. So I just want to make sure that
hear it
you
at
guys,
all.
okay.
Yep.
So, and so we're kind of programmed when we come in this world to the collective consciousness. And
Hmm.
so if the collective consciousness is, well, that's impossible, then we
Yeah.
all just believe it's
And we believe
impossible.
so true.
Yeah. And so when somebody comes in and does the impossible, well, that's a miracle. Miracles should be happening every day. There is nothing that is impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so life becomes really interesting and really exciting even when things aren't going well. Like when
Right.
I get up in the morning or I have that day and it's like, man, if I could just get away from me, I'd be fine.
Hmm.
And I've got a few days like that and I'm kind of edgy and in this space. I'm like, oh,
Mm.
something's happening here and something's gonna show up. I don't know what it is, but I've learned to be curious. I'm like, okay, let's see what shows up. Sometimes
Mm.
it's like, oh, really? Okay. And sometimes it's
Yes. Yeah. I love that awareness of realizing how unlimited we truly are and how programmed we've been to think like the collective consciousness, and that oftentimes the thoughts, they're not even ours, or they're just beliefs that we've inherited. And um, yeah, there's an issue that I have with my eyes, and it's like a genetic thing. And it's I truly believe that I'm going to heal this completely and fully. So I'm doing what I need to medically. I have to take drops, uh, and I'm also working on the metaphysical, the spiritual, the ancestral, like all the different components there. And just I know in my heart that I have that capacity, and so it's almost like, oh, I can't wait to prove him wrong. My doctor, when he's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. It's just
yeah.
like that kind of thing. Or when, I don't know, just all the years of going through depression, and just doctors like, you need this pill, that pill, this pill, or you need this test, that test, or this, or I'm just like, no, or at times just being defiant, kind of like, don't label me, don't. And I have taken Western, I have taken allopathic medicine, and I'm
Sure.
not saying, and it's
Sometimes we need it.
very helpful, very, very helpful. I couldn't have survived without it. I think there's a place for both sides, but
Yep.
there's that deep healing. It's like, what is this really about, and what can I do with this? And not to say that we won't be complete unless we completely heal ourselves. I mean, but or cure ourselves of something. It's just, how can I come to terms with this in peace? And what can I do myself to shift my perspective, and really heal the other aspects of myself? And I feel like that's a lot of what you do.
Absolutely. And one
Mm.
of the questions I will throw at anyone who has an issue that they can't, and I will give you an example. What's the worst that can happen if I get better?
Mm.
There's a reason that
Yeah,
it's
there
that
is.
it's there.
Yeah.
I years ago, when I was in New Mexico, I had a friend who was an oncology nurse, and she sent me, or she referred a client to me who was dealing with breast cancer, was having treatments and not responding, and it she should have been. It wasn't stage 4, I think it was stage 2, and or back then they called it stage 2. And we'd been working together, and she called me. She goes, "I'm not sure I'm going to come in." Um, for this next session. And I knew right then and there, that's the subconscious saying, we're not going there. That's the self-sabotage. I knew we were getting close.
Hmm.
So she comes in and we're sitting there and we're talking. And I asked her, I said, what's the worst thing that could happen if you got better? And she goes, what do you mean? It'd be wonderful. It'd be great. I said, I get that. I said, but just play with me here. I said, what would be the worst thing that could happen now? Before she got cancer, her and her husband were more living like roommates. Her daughter, who was about 27, 28, was off in her own world and hardly ever coming around. Her two sons weren't speaking to each other.
Mm.
And
Wow.
when so I'll tell you what she finally said, and I could literally see the shift in her. And
Mm.
she started to cry and she said, my family will fall apart. Because when she got cancer, her and her husband's relationship completely changed. Her two sons said, okay, for mom's sake, we're going to figure out how to get along. And then they actually started getting along and we're back together. And her daughter was around more.
Mm,
And so subconsciously is if I get better, it's all going to go back to the way it was before. And I like it the way it is now.
mm,
So I tell people all the time, your subconscious is the most powerful goal achieving mechanism known to man, bar none. If it's
mhm,
in there, it's powerful until you truly want to create a change and use the tools to be able to get down in there and release it.
mm. I love that.
Yeah.
It's just so powerful, so
Mhm.
powerful. Um, so with this workshop that you're going to be doing, you mentioned something about like changing the DNA. There's something
Mhm.
in there. So that's like explain that as far as
Well, that's epigenetics, and so and most people don't realize that we not only inherit physical, biochemical illnesses and disease, heart disease, cancer, whatever, but we actually inherit emotions.
mm-hmm.
And so when we change our, because when we're working, since everything is energy, our biochemistry is energy, we are literally changing the energetics of our body. DNA is energy. And so when we begin to work on ourselves, we begin to create changes in our DNA. It's DNA doesn't turn off and on. It either expresses or it doesn't express. But some of the studies that I was talking about shows that we can literally change the DNA. The cool thing is when I change my DNA, it changes my son's DNA. Not as impactful as mine, but it does create, and it will start to create a shift in my granddaughters.
I love
Oh
that.
yeah, it's great. It's
And
great.
I feel like that was when I started to go into this really dark, deep depression. I knew it was like this deep knowing of, oh, I need to heal this for my children. I need to heal it for my ancestors. I took something really big on, whenever we experience anything that's very extreme, it's almost like you can look at it so many different ways, like some kind of karmic thing that you need to work through or ancestral or um, and I know that, yes, I knew I needed to work on me in order to help them. And to be I've the one thing that I've always been is so honest and open with my kids when I was going through challenging periods and just not shoving it down or hiding it,
Mhm.
just letting them know like this is something I'm working through. And going through those times can be very isolating. It can be very challenging.
Uh,
You can't, it's a lot of, it can feel like a lot of work, but when you have someone like you to help you get through it, I mean, that would have been really helpful for me. I felt like I went through traditional, I mean, sometimes traditional therapy is great, but there's now I feel that when you have a whole lot of anxiety rushing through your body, it's really hard to have talk therapy and just sit there and not feel super anxious, and to want to need to move or to tap, or like you said, when you
right.
got in the middle of the night, you can't just lie there in bed when you're having an anxiety attack. You need to like
No, it's horrible.
move it through your body, and through your um, teachings, it's kind of, showing, okay, this is what's happening to your body, but let's work on, how we get it to another place, or to a higher, how we get you to a higher place where you can start to expand.
Mhm.
So I'm just kind of
Well,
rambling. I feel it.
right,
Mhm.
right. So anxiety and depression are termed illnesses. And in a sense, yes, they have medication for them. But anxiety and depression are really symptoms of something deep. Depression is about the past, and anxiety is about the future. And so when you have those and you learn how to sit with them, and
Mm-hmm.
communicate with the body for it to come up. That's how you begin to release it. Because once you start releasing it and then you realize, oh well, this really isn't all that scary. um that's when change really takes place, and that's all you're doing is you're going from the lower vibrational frequencies higher vibrational frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
Once you reach a certain point, your body does know how to heal itself. there's a
Yes.
whole there's a whole pharmacy there's a pharmacy that you're not going to find anywhere in this country, right here in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it takes patience. We live in a okay. I'm hungry. I'm going to call Uber Eats. I'm going to have my food here in just a few minutes. I don't feel like cooking. Oh, don't like this station. Click, click, click. We are in this Amazon. Oh, I can have it to you by this evening. So
Mm-hmm.
we're living in this society, in this place where it's instantaneous. I got a headache. I'm going to take a pill. It's going to go away, and I'm going to keep going. And so with this type of work, have I seen things that within one session someone has created this shift and things change? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But usually they're the people who, man, they're right there. They just needed somebody to kind of take them over that 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 edge. I'm not going to say edge, but the top of the mountain. We've crested, and now we're going on the other side. For some, it takes longer, but it takes discipline, it takes patience, because it's when you, in medical science or in the medical community, they start with the symptom,
Mm-hmm.
that's with the medication. But when you're working on the body naturally, that body will say, so they've got heartburn, they have an issue. And so you go to the doctor and he gives you Prilosec or whatever the latest drug is now for that. Well, the body's going to say, well, why do I have this? Oh, it's because there's it's an acid situation in my stomach. Okay, but why do I have that acid situation in my stomach? Usually they'll give you an antacid when what you really need is more acid, more hydrochloric acid in your stomach. You don't have enough, is really what it is. But, and then it says, okay, why do I have that in my stomach? Well, because you're not the bile ratio, the phase one and phase two, the bile ratio that the gallbladder isn't releasing is off. Okay, well, why is that off? Now we're not doing this consciously, but this is what the body's doing, and it's going to drill down to that base of what's going on. And a lot of times it drills down to something you're suppressing emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, seriously.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden it's like, wow, man, I'm starting to feel better. And
Mhm.
so that's what this work is.
Mm.
And
Sounds
then
amazing.
usually you start seeing you're not going to change out there. I don't care what you do. You can change the color of your walls, but trying to change out there without trying to change out here is having an engine problem with your car and painting it a different color and thinking the car is going to run better
Mm-hmm.
with your life or with your body. It just doesn't work.
So true, so true. I love what you said about getting into the body, because when you're in that state of anxiety or depression, you're kind of like you're in your head. And so, for me, it's been so helpful to be in the body and to feel, where do I feel this, um, or just like voice to myself, what am I feeling right now, and letting it be okay, whatever how ugly it is. And then just putting my hand on my heart and feeling, where is it in my body, and what does it have to say, kind of getting information. And then you just having that compassion and that self-love. I feel like sometimes it can be like, boom, it can really shift. It can really
Oh,
shift.
definitely.
Yeah, it's just been, but like you said, you have to get down to it versus, it's so easy to want to push that stuff away. I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to think about it. And I know I did that for years. Just, I don't want to think about not sleeping. Or I don't want to think about, this thought or that thought. And because I think at the time it was about what you think about, you'll create more of, which is true, but also it was almost like telling us it wasn't okay to feel a certain way,
Oh,
and
we have a right to every emotion we
we're
have.
right to every emotion, and to love every part of ourselves, and to embrace that. That's the hot mess of being a human in this spiritual, we are spiritual beings in a human body. And yeah, so it's an amazing journey, and it's so neat that you've got all these different qualities and aspects that you bring into the work that you do, and I think it
Mhm.
sounds really powerful and amazing.
Yeah, I just tune in, feel my way through. I go when I sit down with any client or I walk into even here before we even get on, show me where I need to be, show me what I need to say, show me what I need to feel.
Yeah.
And so I'm feeling into everything. And whether it's a client, whether it's a workshop, I step in there. This is the agenda I have, and it's right out the window
I love
because
that.
what they need, the dynamic of the room. And it's always interesting. I'm sure you've picked up on it because you've done courses and workshops and whatever. There's always kind of a theme,
Hmm.
it's like there's a dynamic of every group that you're with. And so I never know what's gonna show up. And I think I'm going in this direction and I'm getting a download that nope, you need to go right here.
Shows a true teacher that knows her stuff enough to navigate in the direction where it needs to go, which leads me to the workshop or the retreat that you're going to be offering on April 2nd here at the Landenberg Loft.
Well,
12th, I'm sorry, 12th.
okay.
Oops, I got the wrong time. The
You're in a
12th.
hurry? You're that excited? You're in a hurry?
Yes, we got to get you here. Do you want to share just a little about that? Like it's going to be from 10 to 3. Is it that?
Great. Yes. And so it's going to be interactive, um, breakouts, and usually when I'm with a group, that long of a group, there might be one or two or three people that I will work with directly on whatever it is that they have issues with. I'll be coaching them through it. It's a safe place. We'll be talking about the biochemistry of the body. We'll be talking about what is the real CEO of the body, which everybody thinks it's the brain. It is not. Here, this is
Mm,
the CEO of the body.
mhm.
40% of our heart has sensory neurites, which is a thinking mechanism.
Oh,
So it's all here, which is why when we stay in our head, this is the
yeah.
computer, we need to come down here
Mm,
to do any work. And so there will be breathing exercises. I do the mandala of being, which is really cool. It's part med. It's a part. It's all guided. I'm guiding all of you through this meditation, which also has tapping in it, EFT, and
mm,
we take you to past, future, others, and identity. Because in the center is the I am, and so
mm.
we have a tendency to fragment and split off, and we want to bring it all back to
Mm.
here. So there's several things I'm going to be bringing into the workshop. So it should be fun. It should be interesting, and you're going to walk out a different person.
I love it. And it's called Living an Elevated Life, correct?
Yes, because that's where we want to be vibrating up here
Mm,
naturally.
yes.
See, addictions. What happens with addictions is they're down here. They can't get out of the lower frequencies, so they use a substance to catapult them up there temporarily,
Mm,
and they come back. So when you learn to come up here, that's when it's easier to eat better. It's easier to stay with an exercise routine. It's easier to say, nah, I really don't want that second glass of wine, or no, I really don't want anything tonight. And because we're already up here in
mm.
these higher vibrational frequencies, which is a natural high.
Yes. Yes. It just sounds so uplifting and refreshing, really, just a different perspective. And I'm really looking forward to it. I definitely am.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
too.
Well, do you have any other final words you want to share?
Um, I pretty much said a lot. I don't know
Yeah,
that
you
that
have.
I do, other than I do hope that you join us because um for people who are at that higher level, but they just seem to be stuck there. This will be the next level to help get you up to this other level where you can keep going
Mm.
further. And you will walk out feeling like, yes, I can do this.
Hmm.
And that to me is the biggest thing. If you feel like you can't and you've been struggling for a long time, you keep banging your head up against that wall, or you keep trying to climb up over that wall. This will be the class that will get you up and over, where you can look out over the horizon and say,
Hmm.
do
That's
this.
amazing. And how can people reach you? How can they get in touch with you?
Um, my website is journeywithalexis.com. And if you want to sign up for the course, you just go to events. If you want to reach me or talk to me, you can just send me an email, and that's Alexis at journeywithalexis.com. I am also on Facebook. I do a Sunday morning news. I've
Yeah.
done it for years. It's
Very
200
informative.
words approximately. It's just something that's uplifting. I put it out there one time, just this one morning, and everybody loved it. And a couple months later, I put out another one, and then everybody loved it. So now it's a thing.
I love
And
it.
it's Alexis Brown slash recodes, I believe.
Flash recodes. I'll put
Yeah.
all of that information in the notes or comment area. Yeah.
Okay. So
Well,
yeah,
thank you. That's it. It's just been such a pleasure having this conversation with you today, and I'm so glad that you walked into the Landenberg Loft. And
me too.
I feel like that there's so much that we can explore together and help other people just explore within their own selves.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So much. And thank you everyone who have watched the live or watching the replay. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave comments, and hope that you all have a beautiful spring equinox day today.
Yes.